before I even see this, as I'm getting out of bed, I can't. I go to put my foot over the edge of the bed, and the pain was so searing because of the lack of blood flow to that leg. And this gave me a true appreciation of what horses with laminitis go through.
You're listening to the Primarily Hooves Podcast, where we make learning accessible from the ground up. Hello, everybody. We're back. Welcome to the Primarily Hooves Podcast. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Lauren.
And we are Primarily Hooves. If you've been around, you already have an idea of what this podcast is about. But if you're brand new, you should probably go back to the first 5 episodes. But if you don't want to, we are a mother-daughter barefoot hoof trimming team who specialize and take special interest in whole horse and holistic horse care. And so that's the kind of things we talk about in this podcast. It's brand new. We are on our 6th episode, technically 7 because episode 5 was part 1 and part 2, but we're on our 6th episode. And our first 5 episodes was introducing you to who we are. So you kind of get a taste of us, kind of know what we're about, so you know why you might want to, or maybe you don't, want to listen. Originally, the plan was, after the first 5 episodes, we were going to start moving on to the topics you guys are asking about. We have plans to interview other professionals who specialize in their own niche that has to do with holistic horse care, but we kind of had a change of plans. If you are on the Patreon, you already have a good idea of what has been going on and why there's been a little radio silence. If you're not, you might not really know. I've been posting on Facebook a little about what's going on, but you might not know. And if you don't know us at all, then you've got no idea what I'm talking about. But we thought episode 6 should probably be catching you guys up on where we've been and why episode 5 part 2 got delayed, why posting has been slower, why I've not been putting up as many videos in the last couple weeks. Figure we'd catch you guys on up now that we're kind of caught up. But first, I want to give an extra huge thank you to our Patreon members. You guys are just help keep all of this going, and you don't know how much we just appreciate you and kind of can't believe where this has already gotten to at this point. It's like surreal almost. I mean, it is. It really is. And so we just, from the bottom of our hearts, we want to thank you guys. If you're not already, we are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and even X. And I post educational horse, hoof, health care related reels on all of those platforms, so about 60 seconds or so of explanation on a topic. We also do educational articles, the light version on Facebook, and then very in-depth on Patreon. So if you're into that, I would highly recommend you go check out the Patreon. But if you're more casual, at least go give us a like, follow, subscribe on the social media platform of your choosing. I always prefer Facebook, Instagram, because I think you get a little bit more there. But if you're a TikTok kind of person, that's fine too. And if you're on YouTube, you already know we post the full-length video of our podcast over on YouTube. So that is a place to be if you want to take in the full view of what's going on. For those of you who are listening to this podcast on your favorite podcast streaming app, you may not know, or you may catch on, that we film our podcast currently in our miniature horse barn. So we are surrounded by 6 miniature horses. Buzzy is number 7, and he is over in his private stall eating his breakfast, so he cannot torture us today. And they nap, they come, they play around, they chew on us. It's a lot of fun to do it out here, but I know it can be weird if you're just listening and we start, fussing at Diego or something, So that's what's going on here, and that's why I recommend you guys, if you have time, go over to YouTube and watch the full video. All right. I think I've said all I'm supposed to say there with that stuff. Like, subscribe, follow, give the video a like. It really helps the channel out, helps push the video out to other horse people who maybe need to know some of the stuff we're talking about or need to know we exist. We specialize in severe hoof lameness cases, and we've been working under Dr. Robert Bowker since 2015. We have a heart for those horses and owners who are struggling with a recurrent or just a lameness they can't seem to get past by focusing on things like diet, exercise, lifestyle management, whole ingredients, right? What we put in to our bodies or the horse's body is what we get back out, along with what Dr. Bowker calls his physiologically correct trim, which isn't so much a name trim as it is just trimming to encourage the health and structure of the equine hoof based upon what evidence says the hoof needs to develop and what development it needs to stay sound. And so we use all those things in conjunction to help these horses go sound. And so if you need help, don't hesitate to join the Patreon and reach out. We are more than happy to help you, especially now that we're kind of getting back caught up and rolling. But now I'm done. And without further
well, if you have a topic or something that you would like to see on the podcast,
yes,
that would be
please.
great to drop in the comments. And it can be something that we'll be working on and getting to you shortly. So that would be my only comment. If there's a topic or something that you're really interested in and want to hear more about, please let us know. Drop a comment.
Yes. And on the topic of comments, if you have a topic you want to see us talk about, put it into the comments of this video or touch base on Patreon. We're getting so many comments on the other social medias that I cannot keep up with it and answer them. Lauren tries to get back to the messages we get on Facebook and Instagram, but it can be hit or miss because there are so many coming in and so many of you are looking for help. So the way to get a response is going to be through Patreon, but if you have a topic, don't hesitate to drop it in the comments of this YouTube video. If you put it somewhere else, there's a really good chance we're going to miss it. And we are so sorry for that. But we are only 2 people. And man, things really explode.
With a lot of horses.
With 20 horses to take care of plus clients. So there's a lot going on. And if you can reach out where it is most efficient, then that only gets you served more quickly and everybody's happy.
That's right.
All right. Now I think without further ado, so, where have we been the past couple weeks?
Not really where we wanted to be.
Not really where we wanted to be. Could anybody tell that anything maybe was off in episode 5, part 1 and part 2? Those of you who watched the video, because we filmed those both on the same day. Could anybody tell if anything was a little weird? Because if you couldn't, there was something a little weird going on with Lauren during those, the filming of those.
Hi, handsome.
Hi, Diego.
Well, unfortunately, I had sepsis and didn't know it at that point. So I was a little under the weather, I would say. And yes, and finally it came to a head and emergency care was required. Hi, always such a good boy. Yeah, so that's going to be our story today. What we'd like to have everybody kind of know so that you didn't just think we left and we don't love you all.
Catching you up. Yes, yes.
Right, that's right. So as Danielle and I were thinking about what to talk about today and how to talk about things, I thought it might be a good idea to even start back to 2017 when we had a head-on car collision. A young man was traveling way too fast on a road that had just rained and hit us pretty much head on. And so really that's where a lot of the trouble began in terms of, not feeling so good, having periods of just intense pain and searching for help. I mean, we probably felt like a lot of the horse owners out there searching for help. And so because, oh, look at that horse fly.
Sorry, Diego.
Woo! Because we have been blessed to have so many fantastic equine practitioners available to us. And the one I'm going to talk about for just a moment now is Elizabeth Voss, who is an osteopath plus a dentist. And we just loved how Elizabeth put the puzzle pieces together for us. It wasn't just about sharp points in a mouth. It was how the body functioned. It was how the mouth functioned. And sometimes you would leave things because the things in the mouth are helping to support the body, right? And that's especially when they've been in wear patterns for a long time and older. The thought process that went into the osteopathic way of healing was very fascinating to us. So after our car accident, and we don't have doctors, I'll just say that right now. We're not big doctor people.
Not big doctor people.
And not because
No
of
offense to the
anything
doctors.
other than we try to stay healthy because we eat well and we get a lot of exercise. And so that's not really something that we've needed. Like I'm on no medication and, I'm getting up there, but I've got great blood pressure, always good blood work from emergency situations when I get my blood drawn. But, everything has been fine. So when we decided, because, when you leave the hospital, they say, follow up with your primary care. Okay, well, let's go find somebody. We decided to go to a osteopath in our town. Couldn't believe there was one, quite frankly, because this is not, really a progressive place here where we live. We were quite unimpressed.
Right. To say the least.
To say the least. For my pain, the management was getting a prescription for oxycodone. And, as fun as that could have been, that was not something that I saw as what an osteopath would do. That was not how Elizabeth presented herself, and so this was quite unsettling for us. They did suggest massage for Danielle, and so we did find a wonderful couple who do chiropractic in another city that were definitely more along the lines of how we thought about things. For myself, they wanted me to write down a week's worth of what I ate. Was I eating inflammatory foods? What was I doing to contribute to the issue that I was having? That's fantastic.
Yes.
That's where we were introduced to cold laser therapy. And we use that on the horses and ourselves currently because, your mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. And if those are damaged or not working properly, they need to be. So cold laser is a part of what we do. The things that we learned and the care that was taken with us was much more in line with what our philosophies are.
Right.
Getting better from that, I had another accident in 2021 where I was rushing to get some mowing done and on wet hill. And I slipped and I stopped the lawnmower motor with my foot. Wow.
It was a push mower, and in some of the videos, you can't see where she was specifically, but
I was up on the hillside, on the mini
behind
hillside.
me, right, would it be your right or left? It's my right. Behind me to my right.
Your left.
At the very back, and sometimes in some of the videos, there'll be pretty tall weeds in a field back there. It goes straight up. And so that's what she was push mowing.
And so I slipped, and I, thank God, still have my foot, but my toe was in question there for a little bit. After surgeries and getting that settled, well, you compensate because I have a foot that's not working properly and it needs to heal. So, using the crutches and the little wheelie things and whatever, because I don't hang around and rest really well. But getting back to work is an important thing in our business because to trim as many horses as we do and to have Danielle have to take care of the farm and trim all the horses and service all the clients is a tough job.
It was a lot.
It's a very tough job. And we didn't have any help at that time. So Danielle bore the brunt of it all. So that really, between the car accident and, again, compensating, because when your back hurts and you have issue, you start walking differently. And then when you lose the ability to use your right foot, you are going to even walk funnier. In this time, I should have been using the services of an Alexander Technique professional that I dearly love, and I am currently back working with. Her name is Allison Dedman, Dr. Allison Dedman.
We talked about her, and I have given you guys her contact info, or where you can learn more about her in part 2 of episode 5.
There you go. I should have been thinking more about myself, where I was thinking more about how am I going to get back to everybody that we work for and getting back to helping Danielle and, just getting back to life. So just you muddle through. But all the muddling creates more damage. I guess in 2023, I started noticing pain down my leg. And, hey, you're getting older, you strain your back with trimming, you're, not using your foot right. I was still in very thick work boots, so I wouldn't bend my foot too much because it was painful. So taking care of that, yet putting strain on the rest of my body, obviously. Last year, or was it the year before? Can't remember. Anyway, I started getting very, very severe, what I thought was sciatica.
May of last year.
May of last year. And thinking, wow, this isn't good. And I've talked to friends about it. And they go, oh, I've had sciatica. It'll go away eventually. It'll be fine. And mine didn't go away. It actually progressed. It progressed to severe pain down both legs, very sore and painful sacrum. It got so bad that my feet would go numb and I thought I would fall down. So it got to a very, very bad point. And in that stage, I said, I really need to go see Allison. Finally. But because of circumstances over last summer, she was out of town. She got back to town. She got COVID. She had to go back out of town again. And so we just kept missing each other. And finally, I started working with her. And what an amazing, amazing difference. Because of the compensation, my body was totally out of whack. Relearning so many things that I needed to relearn and to put this right foot to use and start bending and manipulating that toe and using it has basically taken the pain out of the toe, given me more mobility back in the foot, and has reduced the pain significantly. That's all by proper body alignment, proper body use, okay? Come May, we have our Harry Whitney Clinic. We've also, in that time, had a lovely, lovely mayor here who Danielle and I both just absolutely adored, whose owner had a tragedy happen with the floods that we had in 2024. This horse was in our care. And she had been doing fantastic, but she came to us with a knee injury. That was not why she was with us. She was with us for Founder, and we had taken care of that, and she was integrated with our herds, and she was the queen. We've talked about her several times.
Yeah, part 1, episode 5, we talk about her. And a little bit. She needs her own episode, but
she does need her own episode. At the time of the flood, right before that, she was failing. That bad knee had gotten really bad. And we had it x-rayed and we had vets take a look at it. And they said she could have flare-ups, which she had the previous year. And as things calcify and, she'll lose mobility, but the pain should go away. Well, that really never happened. Well,
initially it did. Oh, yeah.
It did for a bit.
But then
the last one kind of came back, and then the knee really started, just bending to the side. Before the floods, we were ready to have the conversation with the owner to, have her put to sleep peacefully. And then the flood hit, and this owner lost everything, lost her business, her husband's business, their town was gone. And the last thing we wanted to do was put anything else on her plate. I know if it was me, and I was in the middle of that, and then somebody said, and by the way, we're putting your horse down, that would have probably been the last straw. We just said, don't worry about her. We will take care of everything. Don't worry about board. As a matter of fact, we got diesel and supplies and money and friends and clients helped to support her.
That was amazing.
It was absolutely amazing. It was absolutely amazing the way the community came together to help the people. And really the next town over in the next state. We are right up against the North Carolina border here where we live. We were dedicated to finding things to help her. And through her, how many products have we found that were just amazing? And
finally have a product I can recommend for arthritis. So many arthritis products do not work, but she made us have to find something that did work.
That's right. An excellent ulcer product. So that's another episode. Towards the end, of maybe March, she started abscessing out of her foundered foot. And that had gotten really bad because with the other leg and the knee issue, she didn't want to take weight off of the foundered foot. And so trimming became way more difficult and way less precise. And it was a difficult venture, although we were getting back to getting a really normal foot.
Yeah, we had a good winter.
We had a very good winter, but she started abscessing. And it was like, okay, she needs to rid herself of some stuff. But then a week would go by after the abscess and maybe another abscess would start. And so then it started to get a little chronic. And between Danielle and I, treating the abscess and wrapping and medicating and, flushing out the area
Every day.
I'm going to tell you right now, I probably do not have like the emergency room or surgery room etiquette in terms of cleanliness for myself. So after I'm done with stuff, I'll go on to something else and I've learned my lesson. So, hand washing, sanitation, things like that. Because in that time, I gave in that time, because I'm always cutting my hands on rasps, with knives, even through gloves. I will cut through a glove and have a hand bleed and say, okay, it'll be fine. That little dirt covered over. Well, that's not the best thing either. So I had at the Harry Whitney Clinic in May, I had a cut on my pinky that was not healing and that was getting kind of angry looking. And I decided, well, when I get home, I need to tend to this. I started to once I got home, but I had also several other cuts. And the next week is when I gave a riding lesson to one of our lovely workers here, Rosemary. And it was very dewy out and we hadn't mowed the arena, so the grass was wet. And because my foot was feeling so good, I put my foot in a pair of boots I hadn't worn since probably 2020 because certain shoes wouldn't fit anymore.
Right.
And I rubbed a blister on the back of my heel. Well, I must have infected that blister also. So I had a blister that wasn't healing, and I had this cut and several other on my hands that weren't healing. And I thought, well, I'm going to have to get really serious here and use some antibiotic ointment and some waterproof bandages because, geez, I'm always, now I'm always washing my hands and my foot's in a shoe or whatever. And so you sweat. And it's getting on summertime here. Well, things were getting worse. And I thought, well, I looked up antibiotic. Oh, don't use it. You could be allergic to it. That's a terrible thing to use. Okay, so now I'm not using antibiotic cream anymore. And I'm even thinking, well, maybe I have an allergy to the tape. That could be, right? Because I had a blister and I have cuts that I always get. So this is not anything strange except the fact they're not healing. So I switched to regular Band-Aids and a lot of peroxide. And
because at that point, too, you were where the blister was, the ankle, I remember, was swollen and pink. I remember some trim days where you'd take your shoe off to let it cool down.
Right. Well, that was after I got some more blisters, actually.
Well, that was when we were thinking allergic reaction to the Band-Aids.
Right. Well, that's true.
Because you stopped using those Band-Aids, and that did get better, the swelling and the pink.
That's right. So I started just putting a gauze pad around the blister. I'd put a sock on, and I'd stick my foot in a shoe without a back. So, like a clog type shoe or whatever. And so I'd be working with one clog shoe and the boot on the other foot. And that was a lot of fun. The hand healed up. So I thought, okay, I'm moving in the right road. And we're talking weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
This is going on for quite a little bit. Then I got another blister on the outside of my leg. And I thought, that's got to be poison ivy because it was itchy. And I'm like, don't scratch it. And we have poison ivy all over this farm. And I know where it is. So I don't touch it. But I have a lovely dog who runs through all sorts of stuff. And, did he run through that and then brush my leg? You never know. So it's like, leave that alone. Don't touch that. And so that really kind of just stayed as a blister. The blister on the back of the foot, the original one, it burst while I was walking in the shoe. So that was would you call that an open blister? And that was kind of healing up too. But then I got the other blisters. And I got several, and I thought, oh, for sure, this is poison ivy. I'm going to have to just not touch this. But then I got this blister on the inside of my ankle, and the other ones kind of subsided a little bit, but this one came up. I was just like, what is going on here? Am I touching something that I touched the poison ivy with, and now I've got it on a piece of clothing or something? Like, what is actually happening here? But we were in the middle of a trim cycle. You're not going to just stop for a blister. That is just so ridiculous. I'm tougher than that. But we had 98-degree weather for like 2 weeks. I'm getting tired. I'm not eating as well as I should because I just don't have the appetite. I started sweating at night, but I'm just thinking I'm getting old. Trim days are just affecting me more. One of the last trim days we had, she had to finish a horse for me that was being difficult because I was just like, I was sweating profusely on that day. I remember that. But in the meantime, I had been icing the foot.
Yep.
So at every gas station we stopped at, we've got a pretty normal route and we know where the gas stations are so you can stop and use the restrooms. I would fill my Stanley cup up with ice. I had a baggie with me. I'd put the ice on my foot, brought an ace bandage, and in between jobs, I would keep ice on it. Oh, and it felt so good. It was the best.
Oh.
But that last day, and she was, oh, you don't need to go trim. I'm like, you'll get done with the day so much quicker if I can help out.
Saturday, she's just white on the couch. And I'm like, oh, this is so bad. And if for anybody wondering who's already thinking all this sounds bad, yeah, I know it had for weeks been really bad. But I don't know if you've ever tried to take somebody stubborn to the hospital before. You don't just go to the hospital with them. They don't just willingly go, So you either hope it gets better or it's going to have to get really bad. And so this is where we are. So, and I'm like, the last thing you need to do is work with me on Sunday, and then, like, the rest of the week, you're going to be down for the count as bad as you look right now. I'm fine. I just need a night's sleep. I'll be fine. And I'm like, in the morning, if you're not 100%, you text me, and I'll do it. You can rest. It'll be good. That morning comes, and she's like, I'm on my way over. I'm fine.
She's a very good daughter. Anyway, so we start our day.
Need a night's sleep.
We start our day. I have my ice. But I did have a good friend say, you're not supposed to keep ice on all the time, because I was actually going to bed with a bag of ice on my leg. That's how bad it was. And so, Becky, thank you. I said, okay, 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off. And once we got to the client, and it was a very hot day again, I took the ice off and we did our trim, and she finished the one horse for me because I was not feeling well, and got back to the car. The ice was melted, and we had started at that trim combining some trim days. We wanted to work less days with more people on them so that we had more time to do things like this. See, we were thinking of you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So because it was a new route, we weren't going past the gas stations we normally go past. So I did not have any more ice for that day. And by the time I got home, I had a pretty swollen leg. It looked like a tree trunk. And the blister raised off. The blister was probably a good 4-inch in diameter.
I'll be inserting pictures for those of you who are interested into the YouTube video, though I'll probably be censoring some of it because I don't know how YouTube is with gross stuff, and I don't want to get my account, We worked too hard to grow this account.
That's right.
So, but anyway, if you're listening and you want to see what it looked like, hop on over to the YouTube.
So it was pretty big, but the color of my skin was still good. The color of my skin still was a normal color.
So she says. I hadn't seen it since, I guess, Wednesday? The Wednesday before.
Probably. So Sunday night, I go to bed. I put ice on it. I need some sleep. I sent the picture to a friend who then in the morning sends me all of this stuff on, oh my gosh, you have cellulitis and that's horrible and the names of hospitals to go to. But before I even see this, as I'm getting out of bed, I can't. I go to put my foot over the edge of the bed and the pain was so searing because of the lack of blood flow to that leg. And this gave me a true appreciation of what horses with laminitis go through. Because when they're still, right? When they're standing still and nothing's going on and they can rest, well, wow, that looks good. But then when they start to walk, we all feel so bad. Oh, they're so painful. That's terrible. Don't make them walk. Well, I was feeling the same way, but I needed to get to the bathroom. I'd slept all night. I hadn't moved. I needed to get to the bathroom. And it took me about 20 minutes to actually be able to put some weight on it. And I would pump my foot and try to put it on the ground. I mean, it was absolutely horrendous. And when I woke up, I started having I got a red band that went from that blister around my ankle, looked like a bracelet of red. And then that traveled up the outside of my calf. And then I also had swollen lymph nodes behind my knee and in my groin with a red flush that went up that way. So that was pretty concerning.
That was concerning.
But the horses needed to be fed. So that's my main job. Got all the horses fed. Danielle's on her way over, and I told her it's probably a good idea if we went to at least an urgent care, and they'd give me some antibiotics because I'm sure this is some kind of infection, and I'll be on my way. And so she gets to the house, and of course, it's the head shaking. Let's go, Mom.
She finally shows it to me.
I finally show it to her. And now the blisters kind of got like green juice in it. And yeah, no, it is not looking pretty at this point.
The only positive was that, surprisingly, it really didn't smell.
No,
that's
because
amazing.
The blister had stayed whole. The blister did not burst.
Yes.
I was taking great pains to, keep it, being very careful around it. And so we're off to the urgent care. And so on the way to urgent care, we say, we've kind of done this before.
We've never had good luck with urgent care because we only, most people, urgent care exists, it seems, because when somebody gets a sore throat, they go to the ER and you'd bog the ER down. So you get urgent care. So if you have a sore throat, you go to urgent care. We don't go at the urgent care stage. We only go at the ER stage, but the problem is we usually go, we don't want to bother the ER.
No.
So you may as well go to urgent care, right? Because surely none of this is very serious. And the urgent care is always this is critical ER stage. Get out of here. Do you need me to call an ambulance kind of thing? No, you don't overreact,
Well, because the whole time I'm going, this is an old lady with a blister. They're going to be rolling their eyes, which they all did.
See, at that point, though, I knew this was not an urgent care kind of thing.
But I'm still convinced that this is just a little round of antibiotics and, we're all going to be good. But I did say, let's just skip urgent care because that's just going to waste time. Let's go to the ER and just have them laugh at me. It's fine.
10:30 a.m. on a Monday morning, nice and quiet.
Beautiful, quiet.
Good time to go to the ER.
Right in. First lady, you got to go get your little bracelet. And so what are you here for? And I said, well, I have a blister. She's like, a blister. And I said, well, I think maybe it's turned into a little cellulitis or something. I mean, I did say that, but anyway, so you go sit down. I mean, it wasn't 5 minutes before the triage person calls you in and they do your blood pressure and whatever. And so I'm getting ready to show the guy and he's like, no. So how you doing today? And I said, well, I've been better. That's why I'm here. Cause I've had better days.
I don't get that question. Yeah. You're at the ER, and it's either how are you doing today? And it's not in the medical sense of they want to know.
No, he didn't want to know.
Small talk. Or what's the other one is what did you do? After they see, and it's I mean, maybe a lot of people might know what they do, but like,
Right.
we've never really known what we've done when we go. I don't friggin' know, you know.
Right.
Like,
That's why I'm here.
it's
I'm
a
here for you to tell
bad,
me.
terrible day. That's why I'm here,
Like,
and
what's
I
going
don't
on?
know. I'm here
Yeah.
for you to tell me what I've done.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh man.
So, why are you here? What's your problem? I said, well, I have a blister. It's kind of gotten angry and whatever. And, he's a blister. Okay. And I'm just like, see, I knew this, right? And so then.
Oh, but first, as we're driving into the hospital's complex to the ER, we've got our dogs in the car with us.
Oh, right.
And so I started approaching the topic with her and I remember how I said it. So if this turns into like a thing, I will take the dogs to my house because it's only 15 minutes away, drop them off in the yard and be back. But if it turns into a thing. And she's like, what do you mean a thing? And I'm like, a thing. Once they kind of get you settled, I'll do that and I'll be back. And she's like, what kind of thing would it turn into? I mean, she had no concept of why I would ever need to bring the dogs, get them out of the car, drop them off at home. Surely this was going to be 30 minutes in and out. They'd be fine in the car.
Right. I mean, we got in so quickly. I get in emergency room and, waiting for the doctor to come in and visit and find out and maybe take a look at what I'm dealing with. And so this lovely, sweet, probably little resident comes bebopping in. She's just adorable. And, hi, how are you today? And I'm like, well, I've been better. I'm here in the ER. By this point, we're just laughing. And she said, I hear you have a blister. And I said, yes, I do. Would you like to look at it? She's like, yes. So I start pulling my pant leg up because, I got my pants and my sock on, and holding my gauze on because I am sure it's the tape still. And, as I'm pulling my pants up, you're seeing quite a little bit of red on the skin, so she's taking a look. And then as I'm taking my sock off and the gauze pad, I must have nicked.
She did it. I remember she did it. It
He
hadn't
did it.
bursted yet. Yeah, when you've told the story a couple times, I was thinking she was poking around on it, looking at it, and after that, it started to just
ooze.
Yes.
Right. So now I'm oozing on their floor, and I'm apologizing for it because, that's kind of gross.
You gotta think it's that big and sticking off her body that far. There's a lot of ooze in there.
There's a lot of ooze in there. And so she quickly kind of goes, oh, I'll be right back. And she brings in two big doctor men. And they kind of take over the case. And antibiotics and ultrasound and x-ray. And so now we got things starting to move here. They did not roll up their eyes at my blister.
You weren't listening, but when she came in with them, she said, how'd she say it? She said that they had to, in order to admit, they had to have an attending doctor see you. And so one of the two was the attending doctor because you were being admitted. You didn't hear that part.
I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, that was when I knew.
Yeah, I'm still convinced. A little IV antibiotic, probably a smart thing because you know how long those take to digest and whatever and start. A little bit around antibiotic, we're going to be good as gold. And no. They take me to ultrasound. They come and they do the x-ray. And
she started getting really fast service. I remember joking with it was the lady who was going to take her for the ultrasound because the x-ray people were in the room with her. The ultrasound lady is with the wheelchair outside. And I'm like, it's nice to get quick service at the ER, but it's never a good thing when you get quick service at the ER. And she said, no, honey, it is not.
Well, so then Danielle's like, okay, I'm going to go bring the dogs to the house. And I'm saying, I guess you are, right? So, because, apparently I'm being admitted.
She was flagged for sepsis because of her blood pressure and her heart rate and the history of chills at night, not eating. And then when her white blood cell count came back, they did blood work. She was 100% flagged for sepsis, and that's an automatic 3-day stay.
Yeah, because what they do is they draw blood for cultures. And so they want to see if the infection has gotten into the blood. And so they want you to stay at least 3 days to see if anything has grown in there. And if not, at 3 days, they let you home with the warning that if anything grows, you need to come back immediately. So we were on kind of like, maybe we'll go back, maybe we won't. But we didn't. Yay.
Yes,
So-
3 days went by and nothing grew in the culture. She was responding really well to IV antibiotics.
That's right.
White blood cell went down. That was wonderful.
That's right.
But that was a fun 3 days.
But that was a fun 3 days. 3 different antibiotics hanging. I don't know how often they did it, but it felt like around the clock. Lovely, lovely, lovely staff. I can't say enough about how wonderful all the ladies were at the hospital, including the cleaning staff. I mean, everybody was just so nice to me. Nobody laughed at the old lady with the blister after that. So that was very nice. But
you went from the old lady with the blister to the old lady who might have to have a below-the-knee amputation.
That's right. And so that's never a good sign. This foot cost way too much money in other surgeries to lose at this point. So we can't have that.
No.
But then coming home, it was 2 weeks with 2 more antibiotics that I needed to take for 2 weeks. Stay out of the sun because of the antibiotic reaction. You know, I know antibiotics are killing the infection that I had, but they made me very sick. Antibiotics are not fun.
Mm-mm.
You know, that much antibiotic for that long a time is very, very difficult on you. Yeah, so, you know, you're sitting around kind of nauseous and lethargic and just not feeling well. And then, you know, you have this wound care thing that you've got to do. Started, I think, twice a day. And then I finally went to the wound care facility and they told me I could go down to once a day.
That was nice.
They were interesting because they actually did blood flow tests on both of my legs to make sure that I had the proper blood flow, which I did. So that was that was very cool.
We always assumed the right foot probably had less because of the accident with the lawnmower.
Right.
But yeah, they did a really cool. It was like I can't remember what it was called, but it reminds you of an ultrasound mixed with having your blood pressure checked, except it was on your feet. And almost identical blood pressure down to each foot, which was really neat.
Yes, that was a very
blood
interesting
flow.
thing.
They weren't actually checking pressure. It looks like it because they got the scale and the pump, but it's blood flow, not pressure.
But it's blood flow. Yeah, so you know, very interesting experience. But again, poor Danielle, she has to take care of everything. It was fortunate that this happened on our break. This was when we would trim our farm and then we get a week off to like do social media and things like that. And so that was definitely interrupted because Danielle was taking care of the farm. We did have Rosemary, who volunteered her services every day to come and feed these lovely creatures in the morning.
She fed every morning for 14 days at least.
Would not accept any pay. She is an absolute blessing, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate her and love her, and she's a special lady.
She is.
And I hope she knows how much we all love her. Animals, well, she knows the animals love her. We know everybody loves Rosemary, but how much we love her and all her help.
And her salsa and her spaghetti sauce.
Oh, she was making me food. She was bringing me cantaloupe from a friend's garden. I mean, she's salt of the earth. She's bringing me books to read, and she is amazing. She is absolutely amazing. So, what have we learned through this? Well, to bring it back to the horse stuff, Jiagulan herb. Jiagulan is one of the herbs that we use and we still use for vasodilation. And I have been using Jiagulan since the car accident. Since the toe accident in 2021.
Yeah.
That's when I started using the J herb. I do believe, like, if you, I've had people look at my feet, they can't even tell I had surgery. And literally, I had my toe cut off. And then I had another surgical site where they placed pins in. And so that toe had a lot of damage.
It was pretty much amputated minus a little bit of flesh holding it on. And the break was higher up the foot, so the toe was amputated kind of down where you would think about your toe, being amputated at the end of your foot. But where it had actually come, fractured was up higher in the foot.
Yeah.
And so it was a significant amount of damage. And then more damage having to do. Right. And now, you have on the underside of your toe, just like the slightest little spot where that's a scar. But that's it.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It is crazy.
And not like a thick scar, keloid, nothing weird, just
No. Yeah. So around the entire toe, they had to sew all that back up, and you don't even see that.
No.
And I'm going to credit that to the jiagulin and the blood flow.
And I think you had a good surgeon.
We had an excellent surgeon. The J-herb has been an amazing vasodilator. They told me from the sepsis that I might need compression socks and I might have swelling for up to 6 months.
They said it could be the rest of your life. Or it could be maybe 6 months.
I'm glad Danielle listens to everything.
They said it could be lifelong. Yeah, dealing with the swelling. Yeah.
And at this point, I have
because
very
you
little
damaged
swelling.
the valve so badly there's just like the horse's foot. We've talked about this on I think in videos so far on social media. There's valves that regulate the flow of blood to your extremities, right? It's why if you're dealing with is it hypo or the one where you're too cold, okay? I'm not good with that. The one where you're too cold and you'll start losing blood flow to your limbs because your body's trying to keep all that warm blood in your trunk. It shunts off, those valves shunt off blood flow to your limbs to try to save your life, right? They do more than just that, right? They're always modulating, but when you have so much swelling and so much damage, those little guys get damaged and they may or may not come back online. And so your body cannot regulate the fluid, the transfer of fluid to your extremities like it's supposed to, or in her case, to the extremity that had the issue. And so if you do too much and too much fluid comes down, it might not be able to go back up because the body's not regulating, right? Stuff's just dumping in. If you're not moving enough and your leg's low below your heart, fluid just pours into it. The body can't go like, oh, in this scenario, we need to, because those valves don't work.
Right.
Absolutely phenomenal kind of stuff. Anyway, I don't remember why I started onto that, but it was those valves that became damaged.
Valves. And so the J-herb seems to have helped that because I haven't had any discernible swelling. I am wearing a very light duty compression sock, and I use that during the day because what I noticed was the band of my normal socks will leave a little indent. And so to mitigate that, I'm feeling like I should probably wear this sock for a little bit because the other leg doesn't have that little band.
Right.
So I'm just using a comparison there. But that's not really a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it doesn't. Without the band, you wouldn't know. It doesn't swell enough to be noted, which is incredible because just for a little timeline, May at the Harry Whitney Clinic, when her hands weren't healing because of how she was also feeling, we're pretty sure she was probably already infected at that point. And you were doing a lot, both nutrition, supplementation, plus care, too, that what we think was keep it at bay, right? It was kind of stuck in the immature colonization form at that point. It didn't get a hold like it could have, as quickly as it could have. But that was back in May. July 28th is when, July 27th would have been that trim day where she didn't have the ice. It was 98 degrees. We worked really hard, and that kind of is what it seems like allowed it to go from that colonization to its taken over. And so that was the 27th, 28th, July 28th, we went to the ER. She spent 3 days there. So what was that? That's like 2 months, something like. Harry Whitney Clinic was the first week of June. Okay, so that was like a month and a half between when we first noticed to when you were at the ER. And now our last podcast we recorded prior to the ER when she was apparently, unbeknownst to us, septic. So it's been a minute. So then that would have been the beginning of August. Now we're in September. So it's only been another maybe 6 weeks at this point, and you already have as little issue as you do have. Don't forget to talk about, though, the healing.
The healing. When I got home from the hospital, I knew that keeping some probiotics in me would be a good idea because of how bad I felt. Eating well, getting lots of protein was going to be a very smart thing. Resting like I should was also a very smart thing. Trying to use as natural products as possible during the healing phase. And we got this wonderful silver felt that helped to draw infection out. That was absolutely amazing. So that's something that we are thinking about for the horses.
Yeah, if you
terms
could
of
pack
use
an
with that.
abscess.
How about baby?
Oh, that would be interesting for mud fever.
Wouldn't that
Maybe.
be an experiment?
Though I do think I need more, but I do think the ivermectin's made a difference.
Okay. That's another show, another topic.
We're experimenting with treating mud fever with ivermectin another day, okay? But hold that thought. We're just always doing something.
Always.
I said you're an experiment. Yeah, sorry, guys. They don't mind. They're just happy to be here.
For as long as I was not healing, these cuts, the blisters, all of this, in a week and a half, everything healed to the point where when I went for my second wound care appointment, they sung a song, did a dance, and released
They
me.
were floored. They were so excited over how, we were too.
Yes, but it was absolutely amazing how quickly I healed once the infection was gone.
The only part of the healing that had both of us a little spooked, and you'll see in the pictures, was she had this red working up her leg. And we thought that was very much like, infection banding that travels. And so we expected that as the infection goes away, that red would descend. It's ascending, it would descend. Well, it didn't. And I guess it read pinky. And it didn't. And so that was something that had concerned me. And before they discharged you from the hospital, I had asked her doctor, what is this? Why is it not descending? I think she's getting better, but... And so it was, what it ended up being, this is really spooky, is it wasn't the ascending redness that you think about with infection. Instead, each of those spots you see, the dark red spots, those were going to be other blisters if we had waited any longer. Apparently, when an infection staff, whatever, we don't know what it was, but when something like that gets to its mature stage where it starts to take over and create lesions can grow centimeters per hour. So that's where the night before it was irritated, but it wasn't, not good, but not. And then the next morning it was so gross. Well, that could actually happen in 8 hours while you're sleeping. And if we would have gone a couple more hours, we don't know how many blisters she could have had. That's kind of spooky.
That's very spooky. Yes.
All right, at this point, we're about out of time. Extra important to be done soon because apparently our voice recorder here is almost out of battery.
Let's do it.
So if the sound changes, I apologize. I don't know if I have new batteries. Very important takeaways here is washing our hands, especially after dealing with abscesses, etc. What else? The respecting what swelling in the distal limb feels like.
Oh.
And we can't even really relate because the horse's swelling's within a hard fixed capsule. The benefits of moving.
The benefits of moving, getting the blood, forcing it.
But it being thoughtful, right? Because this is very real, the issue that they're having. And yet there's so much benefit in the moving. The benefit of smart, thoughtful supplementation. Because what an amazing thing, there's more that you're doing, but the Jagland can do is amazing. But also, I think, the very real effects of antibiotics, and they are life-saving. And yet we use antibiotics so willy-nilly. We'll put our horse on around a Z-Pack, SMZ something for some rain rot, and then we put him in the trailer and take him to a show the next weekend. They need time to rebuild. Your gut affects you physically. It affects you mentally. A great episode would be on the connection between the gut and the brain one of these days.
Yes.
Emotionally, your gut can affect you. And so what these horses put up with, because we just want to go do whatever, is amazing. We don't give them the time to rebuild like we need to.
That's right.
I mean, there's so many takeaways from this whole experience, but it's just one we hope to not have to go through again. So we really hope you enjoyed this episode, and we apologize for the rushed ending, but don't forget to like, share, subscribe, join our Patreon, and we can't wait to see you in the next episode. If you have any questions or you want a topic request, don't forget to put it in the comments down below. We will talk to you guys later, and I'm going to put a battery in this audio recorder. Bye!